Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the All Access Studio. I'm your host, Marty Finn, and joining me now is Gelung Tubten, who's a mindfulness and meditation teacher. So, Tubten, thank you so much for making the time to be with us in the studio.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
So, we're going to start this off the way we've been starting off with all our guests. We want to ask you a question. What were your career aspirations as a kid? So, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Not a monk.
Not a monk. Okay.
That was not.
I'm a bit confused now, but keep going.
The whole monk thing was not on my radar at all. In fact, growing up, I wanted money, I wanted success, and in fact, I became an actor before I was a monk. And I was really interested in that kind of work, but it was stress, huge amounts of stress that drove me to a monastery, and I completely changed direction.
Wow.
Through some kind of meltdown through stress. That's what turned me into a monk.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And you grew up wanting to be an actor?
Yeah. My mother's
cool.
an actress.
Really?
So I kind of wanted to follow in her footsteps. And I think there was something in me that wanted to communicate. And now, of course, as a monk teaching meditation, I get to communicate a lot and hopefully help people. So my motivation changed from wanting some kind of financial success into wanting to help others.
Wow. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So, in thinking of mindfulness, we are constantly bombarded with, interruptions and things throughout the day. Like, what are some tips you would recommend to help people be more mindful in their daily lives or while they're at work?
Yeah, I think sometimes people think meditation and mindfulness is something you do very separately from your ordinary life. Like you might sit at home and meditate, but it's really interesting when you can bring it into daily situations. So as you say, in the workplace, we're bombarded with emails and phone calls and the pressures of work. If you can have mindful moments throughout your day, that changes everything. So I try to help people to practice those moments of stillness, even in the busyness of working life. So just taking a moment to feel the ground under your feet, be aware of the chair under your body, just those moments throughout the day help you to be less affected by all of the stress around you.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful tip. I actually have a question for you personally. So how can someone even get started doing that, finding those mindful moments? I personally would love to know, and I think a lot of our viewers would too.
It's all about building up the habit. So I think, first of all, we've got to realize it's good for us. So maybe reading or studying a little bit about the brain science of meditation and how it reduces cortisol in the body, reduces stress. Once you know that, you want to do it.
A little bit about the why.
The why, and then you just have to do it, and you're kind of building the habit. And one of the most important things is to do small moments. If you try and do it for too long, you kind of crash and burn.
Sure.
Because you took on a huge task and then you feel like you failed because you don't do it. But if you just build it up slowly throughout the day, it starts to become a habit.
All right, very good. Well, thank you for the tip.
Thank you.
In thinking about what companies can do, what can employers be doing, what are some thoughts you have on how employers can start to take a lead in bringing that mindfulness to work and helping their employees from that standpoint?
I think it's very much about making it part of the company's culture so that mindfulness is placed as an important skill, and maybe not only for well-being, although that's important, but wider than that. So in terms of professional development, for example, if you practice mindfulness, you're more focused. You're more concentrated, so you can work with greater efficiency.
Sure.
So if mindfulness can be seen as a work skill and encouraged on that level, then people will feel more supported. And then, of course, if the company can have meditation rooms, I know some companies do meditation in their lunch break, or it's kind of accepted as part of company culture, maybe starting meetings with 1 minute of stillness. So it's kind of woven into the company's culture. Then it becomes very normalized and people feel supported in doing it. Yeah,
one of our other guests we had on the other day was actually talking about having complete silent dinners with your coworkers as a way to get to know one another interpersonally. It was kind of mind-blowing for me because I couldn't think of the concept, but you mentioned even the first minute of a meeting just being quiet.
Yeah, and silent eating, I mean, it's not practical to do that all the time, but it's an amazing way to actually have a real break.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the lunch break is not a break. You're just talking madly and then getting yourself more stressed, and then you go back to the desk. But what about having some space at lunch? If you eat silently or just mindfully, you're actually chewing the food properly, digesting it properly, having that mental calm down.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. So on the topic of being stressed, you mentioned, I know you're going to be doing several sessions at Talent Connect. That involves public speaking. I think a lot of our viewers, public speaking can be a very nerve-wracking thing for people to do. What are some of your thoughts? How do you prepare yourself to give a presentation, public speak, calm those nerves?
Actually, the first time I had to speak in public, I was so frightened I started crying. I used to be really nervous, and now I find it very easy because of mindfulness. And my way of preparing for a talk is not around the information. I don't sit there with notes planning what I'm going to say. I prepare my body and mind to be in a mindful state. So maybe backstage, I will spend a moment focusing on my breathing, feeling the ground under my feet, dropping my shoulders, going into that mindful zone so that when you walk on stage, you're completely in the moment. And you have your knowledge already, it will come out. You don't need to be, revising your notes. You need to be preparing yourself to be calm, open, and in the moment.
In the moment. I was just going to say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you've talked a lot about advocating a change in meditation from self-motivation to compassion. Can you share a little bit more about what that means?
Yeah, I'm very much into compassion-based mindfulness, which means that when you're practicing the mindfulness, you have a sense that you're not just doing this for your own personal well-being.
Yeah.
That's included, but you're also doing this so you can be of greater benefit to others. So you're bringing peace to your own mind so that you can bring peace to those around you, because we are social creatures.
Yeah.
We're all connected. So we need to honor that connection and maybe bring the mindfulness into our connectivity so that our relationships improve, our personal relationships, our work relationships. I think peace in the mind leads to peace outside. And compassion means to have empathy for others, to see their side of the situation, to be less judgmental. And this is definitely part of the mindfulness process.
Wonderful. All right, so final question. We're asking, it's a LinkedIn tradition. What is something we would not know about you based on your LinkedIn profile?
Something you would not know about me? Wow, I don't know. Is that I haven't always worn these clothes. I mean, this whole monk thing was, I've been a monk for 25 years, but before that, I was very different. If you'd have seen me then, you would never have recognized me. I had kind of punky hair, spiky hair, and I was quite wild.
All right, going out on acting jobs, huh?
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate the time and the tips. Thank you, very helpful.